Hi guys, I'm live. Somebody told me I just want to do a little lesson. Um, it's kind of nebulous as what I really want to talk about and maybe teach, but at the same time, it feels like there is something there. And at the same time, it might be important to somebody or it might help somehow as opposed to if I don't do it. So I thought I would just do a little lesson here. If I mess it up and everything, I can always delete it. But I just thought I haven't didn't go live much this morning. I had an eye doctor appointment. I see the eye doctor every once a year because I have one out of two markers for age-related macular degeneration. So I check it every year. I'm fine, but it took a lot of my day to go to it because um, it's out of town. So I had to get a ride and had to do it, and then I had to wear the little shades because my eyes got dilated. So I'm sorry that I wasn't very active today, but to make up for it, I'm active right now. I just feel like teaching a couple things, and maybe I have nothing to teach. But then again, what if I do? And then what if I say I'm not going to do it, and then I don't end up teaching what I could have taught? So I'm just erring on the side of action versus inaction. If you guys know what I mean. Um, First, I want to just talk about. Well, I want to talk about the way scales are made up of, and how I process it, and how I think of them a little bit. Bear with me if it sounds boring, but I want to start with Mozart. Not that I can play like him or compose like him, but I want to start with the fundamentals that made up his music from a theoretical point of view. Um, so there's a thing called triads. There's based on a fifth and either a major third or a minor third. Anyway, those are the two main types of triads. There's also augmented and diminished, but for now, let's stick to major and minor. So if you start with major, you have, let's say, pick the key of D. If you start with a D major triad, and then go 1/4 above that to make a G major triad, and then a fifth above that to make an A major triad, you have three triads: D major, G major, and A major. Those happen to make a D major scale. And then you can play that on the 12 notes, so you have 12 major scales. And that's really important, not just to know as a fact, but to meditate about it and get your head around that. There's actually 12 major scales. It's hard to get your head around all the possibilities. You have E major, F major, F sharp major, C major, E flat major, A major, E flat major, E major, C major, C sharp major, D major, E flat major, and back to E major. Those are the 12 major scales, and all the major scale music ever written is in just those 12 scales. I mean, so it's really important, but yet it sounds like not very much there, but there's a lot to be said for that. And then you have the minor. Well, for the minor, let's pick D again. If you have D minor, and then G minor, and then A minor, well, that would be the same notes as F major, but starting on D, which makes it D minor, and since it's all minor triads, we call it D natural minor. But to make it sound more minor and sound better, we make the fifth chord, the 5 chord, which in this case is A, into an A major triad. So now I have D minor, G minor, and A major. That gives me G harmonic minor. And there's 12 of those. And virtually all the minor music around has those 12 minor scales in it. So I have E minor, F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, A flat minor, E minor, E flat minor, E minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, E flat minor, and back to E minor. So between those 12 major keys and 12 minor keys, you have 24 keys, and that's basically most of Western music and classical music and all that based on just those 24 scales. And that's a lot of ground to cover in just a few scales. And once again, get your head around it. Don't just know there's 12 minor keys and have nothing to say about it. Get your head around it and visualize it, picture it as a circle or as a line, whatever works, and there's 12 minor keys, usually harmonic minor, but there's melodic minor and there's natural minor, but whatever. and then 12 major keys, and there's harmonic major, but usually it's just major, a natural major scale. That's important to me. But then it doesn't stop there. If that were all it is, let's go home. But there's also blues that came in the 20th century, and blues doesn't have major and minor. There's no major blues progression or minor blues progression. There's just a blues progression, and blues progression is dominant sevenths, which are four-note chords, which are a major triad with an added minor seventh. So let's say I pick the key of B. I could have B dominant seventh, then for the four, and then go up a fourth, and I would have E dominant seventh. Then go up a fifth, and I have F sharp dominant seventh. So between the three, so basically I have B seventh, B dominant. When I say seventh, I mean dominant seventh. So B seventh, E seventh, and F sharp seventh. That makes up a B blues progression, and there's no major blues progression or minor blues progression. There's only 12 blues progressions. It's because there's 12 keys, and each there's no major or minor blues progression. There's just a blues progression. So there's 12 blues progressions, and that would be E, F sharp, G, E flat, A, B flat, D, C sharp, E flat, E. I could go through and play all those, but you guys get it, I think. But the thing is you don't play a major or minor diatonic scale, 7-note scale over that. Usually you play a minor pentatonic or a major pentatonic. Since there's no major or minor blues progression, you can play minor pentatonic or major pentatonic or both at the same time. You can go back and forth between one or the other, or you can play them literally both at the same time, which gives you a mixodorian scale because there's actually 8 notes. It'd be a minor pentatonic, and a major pentatonic would make a Dorian with an added major third, or a mixolydian with an added minor third, which make a combination of a Dorian and a mixolydian, which is sometimes called mixodorian. But rather than play mixodorian, because it sounds kind of non-bluesy when you play it all the notes, too many notes, just play a minor pentatonic or a major pentatonic in the key of B. So the B blues progression would be B7, E7, F sharp 7, E7, and over that, minor pentatonic or major pentatonic. Often the major pentatonic is played as a minor pentatonic, a minor third down, because it's easier on the finger. It would be B major pentatonic and B minor pentatonic. Like that. So B minor pentatonic, B major pentatonic, B progression. And there's 12 of those. There's 12 of those. You can have 12 minor pentatonics and 12 major pentatonics, but they're all usable as one blues progression if you play either one at the same time or back and forth. So you have E minor pentatonic, F minor pentatonic, F sharp minor pentatonic, E minor pentatonic, F minor pentatonic, E flat minor pentatonic, E minor pentatonic, C minor pentatonic, C sharp minor pentatonic, and same with major pentatonic. As far as all 12 keys, and with just the major and minor pentatonic scale, which you could call 2 different scales. You could call that 24 scales if there's 12 keys each of them. And then the harmonic minor scale and the major scale, and there's 12 of each of those, so you have 24 there. And so with the total, you have like 48 total scales: major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, harmonic minor, and major scale all, but then times 12 because there's 12 roots you can play any of them on. You get a lot of music. You get a lot of ground covered in music, but it seems like little material. I mean, I can literally play all 12 minor pentatonic scales in a matter of a minute, but yet that's all the blues scales, and with the major pentatonic is all the blues material you're going to hear for 100 years. But there's so much variation in the infiniteness of music that it works, and there's still more songs to be written. I'm writing them myself. And that's even after Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix did their thing. I still find original songs to write and play myself. I'm working on one called Crash and Burn with a moderator right now. Right now I'm supposed to call him and do vocals tonight, but I had to wait for my eyes to undilate, and it was either too late or we missed the call. But I'm doing the vocals next. I've done the guitars already, and then Matt adds the drums, bass, and keyboard, and then I do the guitar and the vocals, and he produces it, and we have a song. So I think that's all just good to get your head around that. And I mean, I knew when I was 15 that there's 12 this and 12 that, but I didn't have my head around them. Try to know the structure of the scale. And by the way, when I said that a major scale is made up of three major triads and a harmonic minor scale is made up of two minor triads and a major triad, a pentatonic scale only has one triad in it. So a minor pentatonic scale only has a minor triad. So B minor pentatonic scale only has B minor and D major. But we won't say D. Let's leave it at B minor for now. There's only one minor triad in a minor pentatonic scale, and that's the minor triad on the root. So the only minor triad in B minor pentatonic is B minor, and similarly the only major triad in a major pentatonic scale is the major triad of the root. So a B major pentatonic scale only has one major triad, which is B major. So that's interesting. And then what's also interesting, since each minor pentatonic scale represents one minor triad, and there's three minor triads in a major scale, and that implies there's three minor pentatonic scales in a major scale, and that's true. A major scale has B minor pentatonic, C sharp minor pentatonic, and F sharp minor pentatonic. All those are in an A major scale. And since there's only one major triad per each major pentatonic scale, and there's three major triads in a major scale, there's also three major pentatonic scales in a major scale. So in an A major scale, there's A major pentatonic, D major pentatonic, and E major pentatonic. And that's all within an A major scale. A lot of interesting things in music to get your head around that may sound easy to say. It may sound obvious when you hear them said, or it's another thing to get your head around it and really understand it and then apply it to your own music. There's a lot to it. For each major triad in a major scale, there's also a major pentatonic scale. So if there's three major triads in a D major scale, D major, G major, C major, then there's also D major pentatonic, G major pentatonic, and A major pentatonic. And then since there's three minor triads in a let's say D minor natural minor scale, which would be D minor, G minor, and A minor. There would also be in a D minor scale there would be a D minor. So let's play in a D minor scale. Natural minor, which sounds kind of bad. Has a D minor pentatonic, and it also has a G minor pentatonic. That's an A minor pentatonic. Within a D minor natural minor scale. So, and interestingly, so for each of the three minor triads that make up a D minor scale, natural minor scale, there's a D minor pentatonic scale. And for each of the three major triads in a D major scale, there's a D major pentatonic scale. So, if you followed everything I said, and you just get it in your head and you can visualize it, then that's a lot of ground to cover. And I work on it myself. Just because I'm teaching this doesn't mean that it's just a piece of cake to me or I have it all down. I work on it too. So that was blues and classical. So we stop there? Well, in my theory, we have also jazz and country. Country's just dumbed down blues, and jazz is just smartened up classical. So really, once you have classical and blues, you really have the core for everything else. But Let's just do the others too. Country music is just dumbed down blues. Instead of playing dominant seven chords, if I'm in G blues, I would be G dominant seven, C dominant seven, and D dominant seven. Well, in country, you don't even play the set. You just play the three triads, like in classical. So you just play G major triad, C major triad, and D major triad. But then instead of playing a G major scale like in classical, you just play a D major pentatonic scale. So it's the dumbest music you can have. And since I don't usually play it, let's do a little bit. I hate to do that because that's my least favorite example. But if I'm in A country, I would play just an A, D, E, and then just go. How it's really dumb and simple. You just play the triads 1, 4, and 5, and then for the scale you just do a pentatonic. Gonna be every time somebody gets on my Instagram and says that I'm a country star, do you know me? I go, no. But whatever. Now, the other extreme is jazz. Jazz is smartened up classical music. So for jazz, you use the diatonic scale, usually major, but you don't just play triads, you play seventh chord. So it's like you take the harmony from blues type stuff, but take the classical type scale. So you have like, let's say you have let's do an E flat major scale, but then I'm going to use seventh chords for that, which are 4-note chords. So first the E flat major scale. I'm going to have E flat major 7th, F minor 7th, G minor 7th, A flat major 7th, B flat dominant 7th, looks like C minor 7 flat 5. Is that correct? No, let's try that again. Sorry. E flat major 7th, F minor 7th, G minor 7th, A flat major 7th, B flat dominant 7th, C minor 7th, D minor 7 flat 5, which is a stupid sounding chord, but whatever. Let's try to play it though. And then back to E flat major 7. So you have the most number of, you have 7 4-note chords, which are 7th chords, but you have a major harmony, a scale, which is 7 notes. It's very complex. So if let's say I'm in E flat, and linearly it would be like this. There's no you play in a line like that. You play it in fifths. So you don't want me to hear something like this. So let's change to B major. And we'll go to G major. I just there you have the giant steps progression by John Coltrane. So let's do that some of that just for fun. Anyway, I did some jazz there. Of course, I could do more classical and blues, but those get covered a lot more than jazz and country for some reason. Jazz is too hard, country's too easy, but in between blues and classical are right in the middle, kind of like means and extremes in math. You have a first, second, inner, outer. First is what would first be? First would be a mean. Second would be a mean, and the inner would be an extreme small, and the outer would be an extreme big. And you have four choices, and I plot it like jazz, classical, blues, and country. Classical is major scales, diatonic scales with seventh chords. Classical is diatonic scales with triads. Blues is seventh chords with pentatonic scales, and country is pentatonic scales with triads. So all the four possibilities. You've got two types of chords, triad and seventh, which is 3-note and 4-note. You have two types of scales, diatonic and pentatonic, which is 7-note and 5-note, and then you just crisscross them all, and those are the possibilities. So I hope this lesson wasn't boring or useless or worse, maybe just as bad. I hope it wasn't a tautology. I learned that word from young Sheldon. Tautology is a statement that's true but has no informational value, such as red is red. It's true, but doesn't say anything. Yeah, I love you guys. Peace, rock, and have a great rest of your day.